The board of the International Monetary Fund will be seeking clear commitment from Ghana's creditors that they will participate in the country's debt exchange program. This will be one of the key requirements the board will be seeking before it approves Ghana's economic program request. This is based on fresh engagements with IMF officials in Washington, D.C., USA. It follows concerns that Ghana will struggle to get a board approval if it fails to secure a debt cancellation from its creditors, especially China. But the fund insists that it's not an immediate focus. The officials were, however, tight-lipped on whether Ghana can secure a program with the fund by the end of this month. Meanwhile, the head of the IMF mission to Ghana, Stefan Rode, in an earlier interview with Joy Business, reiterated some of these fresh assurances from the fund.
Now, when it comes to the next steps, the goal now is to be able to present the authority's request to our executive board. And to be able to do that, we need what we call financing assurances. And what that means is that we need Ghana's partners, the development partners, to contribute and to give our board assurances and comfort that they will also contribute to the financing of the program. And it also means that we need assurances and a level of comfort that creditors will also provide the debt relief that is necessary to put debt on a sustainable path.
Assurances in what form? Because in one breath you also explained to us that the treatment of the debt is a sovereign issue. So where do we draw the line when you say that you just need assurances they are contributing to the debt program? And I was a little bit confused, so help me out, please.
So the Ghanaian authorities have developed a strategy to deal with their debt burden. It includes a restructuring of the debt, and they are seeking relief from various categories of creditors. And so what is meant by assurances is meant that we need the process to be sufficiently advanced so that some progress is being made to go in the direction of that debt restructuring, and to provide comfort to our executive board, our executive directors, that that strategy is on track.
And if I just to break it down further, so that this assurance should come in a form of a commitment from these creditors the government will secure, or what? Because how then do you get the communication that George Yaffe, who was a major creditor to the government of Ghana, is cleared or is committed to this whole financing or debt strategy for the Republic of Ghana?
Yeah, it can come in the form of commitment, depending on the type of creditors. This is exactly it. This is the commitments from creditors that they'll be able to deliver relief that is consistent with the parameters of the program.
And that should be a written text or something, or what?
No, it depends on the type of creditors, and it's a judgment call on the part of the institution.
Now, how do we draw the line between it being a sovereign issue and then again the commitment? Because some would say that you can't take yourself out of it when in one breath you're looking for that commitment from these creditors.
What is important for the IMF is that overall, the strategy delivers on a certain level of relief at the aggregate level so that the objectives in terms of debt sustainability are being achieved. Now, how that relief is being provided, it's very much for the government to decide. This is the part that is a sovereign decision. And so what I meant is that the type of debt that is included in the perimeter of the debt restructuring, the parameters of the debt restructuring, how much relief is being sought from one type of creditor versus another, how the process that is being used to reach out to creditors, to negotiate with creditors, all of that are the parts that are very much in the domain of the government and for the government to decide upon. These are the sovereign decisions.
Meanwhile, senior finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amo, said IMF's latest stance on the debt exchange program inspires confidence that Ghana could secure a bailout from the fund. He however urged government to keep the market informed about relevant information so that it can respond appropriately.
The most important thing is that the IMF is giving us the green light and is encouraging us to do what we have to. That's the most important thing. And so once you have their support, sometimes it becomes a little bit easy to get the buy-ins of the other creditor nations. We shouldn't forget that domestically we have succeeded in having our exchange program largely accepted. So all that we are doing now is to also convince the external creditors, just like what we're able to do the domestic creditors, to come on board. But like I said earlier on, once the IMF is positive about our case, strongly, I believe that our creditors will also give us a hand of help, including China, as we put ourselves together and as we come out of this difficulty. So definitely, we are positive that come end of this month, we'll hear something positive as far as the debt exchange program is concerned. What they have to do is simple, is to feed the market with all the relevant information as and when it trickles in. So anytime there is any relevant news that the market will have to process in terms of positioning their investment and their engagement with Ghana, it will be necessary that the ministry and the government will bring it out. At this point in time, the market need relevant information to take decisions. So any piece of news that is material, that is relevant, the ministry as well as the government will have to bring it onto the market so that the market can respond appropriately for us to get out of this difficulty. It may not be palatable, but it's better you bring it out. It may also be good news, you have to bring it out. We should not be hiding some information. We should be as transparent as we, so that we can have the confidence in the market and investors can still have the goodwill to do business with us.
Now, former Finance Minister Seth Terkper is warning managers of the economy to restore fiscal reforms and improve accounting and fiscal standards in order to manage the next crisis that will hit the economy with ease. According to him, the country cannot continue to operate in its current structure, else it will not survive the next crisis. Speaking to the media, Mr. Terkper also called for the restoration of links in the fiscal framework such as deficits, fiscals, balances, borrowing, and financing.
There's a need to address the following fiscal, issues, or the fiscal structure, restore fiscal reforms, revenue modernization. That is ongoing, but I think it needs to be accelerated. Improve on our accounting and fiscal standards. We can't operate in an environment where every minister would have a discretion as to what to include or not to include. You remember the saga of footnotes and the rest, which has landed us to where we are. And then we must restore credibility to two laws. The PRMA, out of which came the Budget, Responsibility Act. It was, it only quantified certain provisions in the PFMA, and then the PRMA. These are carefully designed to control expenditure, to manage expenditure, and to be accountable, the PFMA and the PRMA, the use of oil resources. So we must restore credibility to this as a structural way of stabilizing the economy. If we keep depleting, using those funds, we will not be prepared for the next crisis. And you can't manage an economy without facing crisis. That's not possible. Even in the US, there's intense debate and discussion, about setting up these funds, the European Union as well.
Now, Mr. Terkper also called for the clarification of the role and independence of the Bank of Ghana, saying the independence of the central bank must not be threatened. Now, moving on, the government is unlikely to issue Eurobonds at attractive yields in the short term, even if it secures an IMF support program this month or in the next couple of months. That's the assertion by Fitch Solutions. According to the international market and research firm, the IMF program would only finance a portion of the targeted fiscal deficit. Here's a report.
In its February 2023 Africa Monitor report, Fitch Solutions said the rising interest rate, which has been hiked to 28% at the beginning of last year, make domestic borrowing more expensive, given that Ghana already faces elevated interest payments and that a substantial increase in domestic debt issuance would weaken fiscal dynamics further. Furthermore, the domestic debt restructuring would make domestic banks more cautious in lending to the government this year. Nonetheless, Fitch Solutions said the government expansionary spending plans will result in a rising public debt in relation to the size of the economy. Indeed, it expects a total public debt to reach 83.8% of gross domestic product in 2023. It's concluded that the public debt to GDP ratio will continue on an upward trajectory until 2028, after which it will start to moderate.
Meanwhile, Senior Manager of the Financial Advisory at Deloitte Ghana, Dennis Brown, says the government's ability to issue Eurobonds at attractive yields is only possible in the medium to long term. Speaking on the marketplace, he said investors are on the lookout for Ghana securing a bailout from the IMF as a basis for turning their attention to the market.
I think they may not be far from right. I mean, I'm sure they are also looking at what is happening now. And I have always said that, look, the IMF deal in itself, the package in itself is not the solution in its entirety. It only communicates some level of confidence to investors that, look, IMF wants to play ball with you. They must have reviewed your debts. They must have reviewed other aspects of your economy. They must have looked at your policies and are confident they can work with you. And so that sends, positive messages to the international investors and for them to, come on board. But it's not going to happen overnight. It's not as if we receive the 3 billion today, tomorrow all our economic challenges are gone. So investors are still going to play some wait and see approach. They are going to see how you do on the program, and they are going to also look at the indicators. They are going to pay attention to the credit agencies and what their revised ratings of you will be post the IMF deal, and use all of that to, inform their decision. So it's not going to it's not likely to happen within the short term if we were to go to the Eurobond market to be able to issue, the Eurobonds at, the attractive rates that you used to previously.
Vice President of the Development Bank Ghana, Michael Mensah, has stated that his outfit has access to sufficient capital of about $700 million, which will be channeled into identifying the gaps and challenges that are hampering production in the agricultural sector. He says the bank will serve as a catalyst in bringing together stakeholders in the agri sector through workshops to address challenges in the sector.
Development Bank Ghana is organizing workshops for players in the value chains of the agricultural sector to identify the challenges in the sector that are hampering production. The workshop will focus on poultry, rice, maize, and soybean producers. In an interview, Vice President of the Development Bank Ghana, Michael Mensah, said the bank has enough funds to bridge the funding gap in the agricultural sector.
We have access to almost $700 million. And we believe that we have sufficient capital to at least start the journey. The funding gap that we see in agriculture is significant, but we believe that what we have is enough to start that journey of providing the funding that we need to support that sector. In addition to that, we've always stated that we also want to act as a catalyst, which is we don't aim to do everything on our own, but we aim to bring all these various stakeholders who are also interested. So for example, this morning we had a MasterCard Foundation here, and they have committed that once we are able to do our work and de-risk the market and create the enabling environment that will attract funding. So the work alone is not about just how much have we given out, but it's also identifying the problem and making sure that the funding is used in the right way. And
Deputy Chief Economist of Development Bank Ghana, Godwin Kojo Ayeno, added that the bank is poised to create an enabling environment for private investors to invest in the agricultural sector.
We are in the space to try and connect the demand side with the supply side, and also the enabling environment become conducive enough for the private sector to invest. And when they are investing and they need medium to long-term capital investment, that's where DBG comes in. Of course, we work together with the participating financial institutions. We do not take deposit, nor we give money directly, but then we work through the financial institutions to ensure that private sector enterprises, businesses, especially in the 4 value chains that we have mentioned, maize, soya, poultry, and rice, that will become self-sufficient in the medium to long term.
The workshops will be held in Kumasi, Tunyani, and Ho, respectively.
Now, stakeholders in the aquaculture industry are concerned about the increasing cost of fish feed. Chief Executive of the Chamber of Aquaculture Ghana, Jacob Adzika, indicated that the price of fish feed has multiplied by 200%. According to him, the rising cost of ingredients such as maize and soya has led the sector to rely heavily on imports. Speaking to Joy Business, Mr. Adzika further made a call to the government for tax waivers and research to discover new ingredients for fish feed production, among others.
Recently, we've seen drastic increase in the prices of fish feed, and this can be traced to the rising prices of fish feed ingredients. You know, the feed producers use soya, maize, fish feed concentrates, vitamins, etc. to produce the feed. If you look at our environment at the moment, they are not getting access to adequate soya and maize, which serves as their carbohydrate and protein ingredients to produce the feed for the aquaculture industry. So the only alternative is to resort to maybe importing it from abroad. There again, the issues of the forest is there. Then also, if you manage to have access to those ingredients from abroad and you import them, when you get to the port, there is huge import duty waiting for you. So at the end of the day, if they manage to even clear the ingredients from the ports to their factories, after the production is done, the prices of fish feed are quite very, very high at the moment. So if you compare the price from last year till now, you could see that prices have gone up by almost 200%. If you look at the critical role the aquaculture sector plays and the role of feed producers in our business, we think we need some short-term or tailored tax exemption for feed producers. Then we should be looking at medium-term solutions like embarking on aggressive research to look into alternative sources of fish feed ingredients for the aquaculture industry. The fact is our researchers or scientists must take the lead. Then industry can buy into this and also invest into what they are doing. We are advocating that the Ministry of Food and Agriculture and Ministry of Aquaculture Development should have some linkages where the farmers at the Ministry of Food and Agriculture can just produce these raw materials to feed our fish meal companies so that we can have access to these raw materials all the time.
Italian furniture trading giant Casa Tresaco is partnering local artisans and some designers to produce standard furniture to meet the demands of its customers in Ghana. The company is on a move to combine local and international quality standards and making available products at affordable prices for customers. Here's CEO for Casa Tresaco, Massimiliano Taricon.
But we will make exclusive service.
Right.
So we don't want make 100 clients happy every day, but we want to take 10, 20 clients every day and make a tailor-made service just for them. Exactly.
Right.
Doesn't mean that we, a combine, even because at that time, Ghana, in terms of design, in terms of idea, wasn't mature. But now, whenever I goes around, I found new people that make amazing fabrics, make amazing design. So we want to make a combination with the local artist here, with the local handcraft here, with something that we can import, and making something unique.
Right.
But something unique that doesn't mean that costs you an arm and a leg. You know, something that very affordable according to your budget.
Right.
But something unique that nobody else has.
And that's how we wrap up Prime Business. I am Maame Esi Nyamekye Thompson. We'll leave you with international business, and after that, sports.